The silo has survived wars. It has survived rebellion. It has survived secrets that were buried for generations. But nothing has prepared its people for what is about to happen. Because this time, the danger isn't coming from outside. It is already inside the silo. And when Camille finally steps forward and makes an announcement that reaches every level of the underground city, thousands of people suddenly realize that the world they believed in may have been a lie. For generations, everyone inside the silo has been taught the same lesson: stay inside, follow the rules, trust the people who protect you, and never question what happened before. But Juliet Nichols has spent her entire life breaking those rules. And now, after everything she has discovered, the secrets are beginning to collapse one after another. The episode opens with the silo unusually quiet. The rebellion has left scars everywhere. People are frightened. Supplies are becoming harder to control, and rumors are spreading faster than Judicial can stop them. Nobody knows who is telling the truth anymore. Then the lights throughout the silo begin to flicker. An announcement is coming. People stop what they're doing. Workers leave their stations. Families gather around screens. Even people who normally refuse to listen to rumors want to know what is happening. Then Camille appears. She doesn't look like someone delivering a routine announcement. She looks nervous, but she also looks determined. She tells the people that there are things they have been denied for too long. Things about the silo, things about the outside, and things about the people who have controlled their lives. The crowd immediately becomes restless. Nobody expected this, but Camille doesn't stop. She explains that the information surrounding the current crisis has been deliberately controlled. The poison in the ventilation system wasn't simply an accident. Someone knew how vulnerable the silo was. Someone understood exactly where to strike, and the people responsible for protecting everyone may have known more than they admitted. Suddenly, the entire silo is looking in the same direction, toward the people in power. But Camille has one more revelation. She tells them that Juliet is alive. For many people, that name alone is enough to cause chaos. Some believe Juliet is a criminal. Others believe she is the only person who ever dared to tell them the truth. And now they know she survived, but they don't know where she is. That is when the story cuts away. Deep beneath the silo, Juliet is struggling to breathe. She is trapped with Robert Sims. The two of them are surrounded by darkness. They know the ventilation system is becoming more dangerous. They also know that every minute they spend arguing could cost thousands of lives. Robert wants to get out. Juliet wants to understand exactly what has happened. But then they hear something, a faint mechanical sound, a door opening somewhere beyond them. They both freeze. Someone else is down there. Robert reaches for his weapon. Juliet stops him. Then a voice comes through the darkness. It's Paul, and he isn't alone. The rebels have found another route into the ventilation system. They believe they have discovered the source of the contamination, but there is a problem. The route leads directly toward an area that has been sealed for decades, an area nobody is supposed to enter. Juliet immediately understands what that means. If someone sealed this place long before the current crisis, then somebody knew it existed. And if they knew it existed, they may have known what was hidden inside. Juliet looks at the door. Then she notices something engraved into the metal, a symbol she has seen before, the same symbol connected to the earliest secrets of the silo. She realizes this isn't just a ventilation chamber. It's part of something much bigger. And when the door finally opens, everything changes. The room is completely different from anything Juliet has seen before. There are no ordinary pipes, no maintenance equipment, no storage shelves. Instead, there are rows of old machines. Some have been dead for decades. Others are still running. A low mechanical hum fills the room. Juliet walks toward the nearest console. The screen is covered in dust, but underneath that dust, there is a familiar symbol, the same symbol that appears in the old records, the same symbol connected to the technology that may have caused the disaster in the first place. Robert immediately tells her to leave it alone. Juliet doesn't listen. She turns the machine on. For several seconds, nothing happens. Then the screen comes alive. A message appears. Silo network status, active. Everyone goes silent. The silo network? Juliet looks at Paul. Paul has no idea what it means, but Robert does, and the expression on his face tells Juliet that he knows much more than he has admitted. She demands an explanation. Robert finally tells her the truth. The silo they live in was never designed to operate alone. There are other silos, many of them, and they were connected through a system created long before any of the current leaders were born. Juliet already knew there were other silos, but she didn't understand how connected they were. Now she does. The system wasn't simply built to protect individual communities. It was built to monitor them, compare them, control them, and if one silo became too dangerous, the system could isolate it, maybe even destroy it. Juliet realizes the terrifying implication. The rebellion may not simply be an internal problem. Someone could be watching everything from somewhere else. And suddenly, the strange events of the season begin to make sense. The disappearances, the restrictions, the obsession with information, the fear of communication. None of it was random. The system was designed to keep people separated, because if the silos ever communicated freely, the people might discover the truth together, and that would make them impossible to control. But before Juliet can investigate further, the ventilation system begins to shake. The poison is spreading. Paul tells everyone they have to move. They find an emergency control panel. Juliet discovers that the ventilation system has two separate modes: normal operation and emergency purge. But the purge has a terrible consequence. It would remove the poison from one section, while forcing contaminated air into another. Someone would have to manually activate the system from inside the chamber, and whoever does it may not survive. Everyone looks at Juliet. She looks back at them. She knows what they're thinking. They think she will volunteer, because she always does. But this time, Juliet refuses. She tells them that dying isn't the same thing as saving people. They need another solution. And for the first time, Robert agrees with her. The two former enemies begin working together. They reconnect the old machinery. Paul manages the rebels above. Juliet works on the controls. Robert studies the old system. And for a few moments, it looks like they might actually succeed. Then the console displays another message. Someone is controlling the system from outside. The rebels didn't cause the ventilation failure. Juliet didn't cause it. Robert didn't cause it. Someone else did. And whoever is controlling the system has just realized that Juliet found the hidden chamber. The door slams shut. The room goes dark. Then the screen displays a single sentence. "You were never supposed to find this." Juliet stares at the message. For years, she believed the people running the silo were responsible for hiding the truth. Now she realizes something much worse. The people inside may not even be the ones truly in control. The original system is still operating, and someone is still giving it instructions. Robert tries to shut it down. Nothing works. Paul searches for another exit. There isn't one. The chamber begins filling with contaminated air. Juliet knows they have only minutes. Then she notices something strange. One of the screens isn't connected to the ventilation controls. It is displaying a recording. A very old recording. A man appears. His clothes are unlike anything people in the silo wear today. He explains that the silos were created after humanity destroyed the surface environment. But there is something he doesn't say. Juliet waits. Then he finally reveals it. The silos were never meant to be permanent. They were meant to be temporary. The people were supposed to remain underground until the outside became safe. But the creators became afraid. They realized that if people were allowed to communicate freely, they might leave too early. So they created rules. Then more rules. Then punishments. Eventually, the rules became stronger than the original purpose of the silos. Humanity stopped waiting for the world to recover. They simply forgot that there was supposed to be a world to return to. Juliet watches the recording in silence. This changes everything. The silo isn't necessarily a prison, because the outside is still deadly. It became a prison because generations of people were never told that they were supposed to have a choice. But then the recording reveals one final secret. The outside environment may already be changing. The contamination is not everywhere. There are areas where life has begun returning. Juliet can barely believe it. For generations, people were told that the surface was death. But what if that was no longer true? What if the biggest lie wasn't that the outside was dangerous? What if the biggest lie was that it would always remain dangerous? Before Juliet can process it, another alarm sounds. The remote system begins shutting down sections of the silo. One by one, entire levels lose power. People panic. Elevators stop. Doors lock. Families are separated. And suddenly the rebellion becomes irrelevant. Everyone is fighting the same enemy. The system itself. Camille realizes what is happening. She makes another announcement. This time she doesn't try to calm people down. She tells them the truth. She tells them that Juliet is trying to save them. She tells them that the people who have spent generations protecting the silo may have also been protecting the secret that kept everyone trapped. And then she says something that shocks everyone. She tells the people to stop obeying orders that have no explanation. For the first time, the population hears a direct challenge to the old system. The silo begins changing. Workers open locked doors. People start helping strangers. Judicial officers hesitate. Some lower-level guards abandon their posts. The old hierarchy begins collapsing. But then Robert discovers something on the system. The remote signal isn't coming from another silo. It's coming from much closer. From inside their own silo. Someone has access to the original control system. Someone has been watching them. And the identity of that person is almost impossible to believe. Bernard. Juliet immediately thinks it cannot be true. Bernard may be ruthless. He may have made terrible choices. But controlling the original system? That seems impossible. Then Robert explains. Bernard didn't create the system. He inherited access to it. And for years he has been using it without understanding who created it. But now the system has taken control back. Bernard realizes he has made the same mistake everyone before him made. He thought he was controlling the silo. He was only following instructions. And now those instructions are killing people. Bernard rushes toward the control room. He knows there is only one way to stop the system. He has to shut down the network manually. But doing that could permanently disconnect their silo from every other silo. There would be no communication, no outside information, no way to know whether the surface is safe. It would mean choosing uncertainty. But leaving the network active means allowing the system to continue controlling them. Bernard makes his decision. He pulls the emergency lever. The entire silo goes dark. For several seconds, there is nothing. No lights, no alarms, no machines, just silence. Thousands of people stand in darkness. Then emergency lights begin appearing throughout the silo. One by one. Level after level. The system is offline. The poison stops spreading. The locked doors open. The elevators restart. People begin finding one another. And for the first time in generations, the silo is operating without the mysterious system that controlled it. But there is a price. The network is gone. They are completely cut off. Nobody knows what is happening outside. Nobody knows whether the other silos survived. Nobody knows whether the surface is safe. And Juliet realizes that this uncertainty may be more frightening than any lie they were told. She returns to the main level. People look at her differently now. Not as a mechanic, not as a rebel, not as a criminal, but as the person who forced them to question everything. Camille is waiting. She tells Juliet that the people are asking one question. What happens now? Juliet doesn't have an easy answer. She tells them that for generations, someone else made their decisions. They were told where to live, what to believe, what to fear, and when to stay silent. That ends now. They will make their own decisions, even if those decisions are dangerous, even if they are wrong. Because freedom without certainty is still freedom. Then Juliet remembers the old recording. The surface. The possibility that the world may be changing. She looks toward the top of the silo. For the first time, she isn't thinking about cleaning the sensor. She isn't thinking about proving the outside is dangerous. She's thinking about seeing it for herself. But before she can leave, Robert approaches. He tells her there is something she needs to know. The shutdown didn't destroy the network completely. One connection remains. A single signal is still coming through. Juliet asks where it is coming from. Robert gives her the answer. Another silo. A surviving silo. And the message isn't data. It's a voice. A woman is speaking. She says only one thing. If you can hear this, don't come outside. Juliet's expression changes. Everyone looks at her. Why? Why would someone living in another silo warn them not to go outside? Unless the surface isn't safe. Or unless something else is waiting there. Then the signal cuts out. Silence returns. And now Juliet has a completely new mystery. The surface may not be the answer. The other silos may know something our characters don't. Or maybe someone doesn't want Juliet discovering what is really waiting beyond that door. And that's what makes this ending so important. For 3 seasons, the biggest question has been, what is outside? Now we finally reach the moment when Juliet is about to find out. But instead of giving us the answer, the story gives us one final warning. And honestly, that may be even more terrifying. Because the moment Juliet opens that door, there may be no way to close it again.